This is the pulsed no hang protocol. If you recall the progressive element we did previously during our warming procedures, for this one instead, we're gonna keep that intensity and the time under tension the same. We're gonna stick with a training edge for every set, but we're still gonna be pulsed. We're pulsed just in the fact that we don't have a given rest period between our hangs. You'll want to adopt a minimum between sets. And then no hangs because we are staying below body weight. Our feet are anchored to the ground to some extent. So let me show you what a set could look like, and then we'll talk about the elements of that, right? So fingers and upper body contracting isometrically, feet on the ground. We're just gonna flex through the knees, and we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And release that edge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do a quick shake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So we're adopting more of a strength training rep scheme there. We're staying consistent with that count. We're trying to flex as deep as we are intending with each rep. Now, when we're talking about assessing how deep we are going to flex our knees, this depends on the intensity you want in your fingers. And there's a few breakpoints, there's 4 of them, that you might want to follow to keep that intensity the same. So what these are going to be is, because I'm contracting my upper body isometrically, my knees will flex just to a given distance. And then to make sure that they can flex further, my feet need to start rising up off the ground. What that looks like is, if I'm on here and I flex the knees, we're going to here. My upper body is not giving way. It's contracted isometrically, which means that here, that's the max my knees can flex. To flex further, my feet have to start rising up off the ground just to allow them to. That means I put more weight through my fingers as I'm rising up further and further. Now I want to be clear, I'm not standing up into this, right? My intention is always to flex at the knees and release some support from my body to force my fingers to support that body weight percentage better, right? So what that'll look like in practice, these 4 breakpoints, is the first one is just going to be feet flat on the ground. We're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right to there. This is where we're holding, right? If I go any further, then my knees have to start flexing enough and my heels rise up off the ground. So let me show that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a break point, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just getting right to there, flat footed. Now let's go to the next one. Heel's gonna rise off the ground, ball of the foot is gonna stay. We're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Next break point is gonna be toes on the ground, balls of the feet trying to rise up. So let's do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You kind of see how it works out. Right, balls of the feet risen up just on my toes. Now what I'm going to do is, on the next break point, we're getting onto the very tips of our toes. And I'll kind of show you if I flex my knees further what ends up happening, right? So we go with this of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I flex any further, my toes are actually just scraping the ground and leaving, right? So we're at an actual hang there. So I want to make sure we're just at that point of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I go further, there it is, right? So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that, right? Now, this is appropriate for anyone that's interested in developing some finger strength training history, even if they're quite a ways away from lifting their feet and hanging body weight on a training size edge. All the way up to those people that could hang and can do it consistently on a training size edge, but maybe can't progress with much weight right now. Let's talk about what a training size edge looks like. Well, this is a 22.5 millimeter edge. It is as big as possible without supporting that distal interphalangeal joint. The DIP is the one furthest away from your palm, close to your fingertips there, that's flexing right here across the index, middle, and ring finger. Your pinky has one too. This is what we're really focused on, is making sure that those 3 fingers aren't having that joint make contact with the edge, because that way the edge supports our fingers. And so really what we want to do is, in that climbing specific manner, forcing the flexion of our fingers to support them, right? So 22.5 millimeter edge. A lot of hangboards have a 20 millimeter edge as standard. that's appropriate for this protocol. Find what works for you and that you can get familiar with, right? So one of the real advantages of this thing is you can get familiar with a hang board and how it feels to start loading those fingers well before we're trying to get body weight, and well without the idea of feeling like you're going to slip off, right? Because you have a stable platform on the ground. So another nice little advantage is if you are doing body weight, but body weight is maximal to you, if you keep that position with the toes barely on the ground, I'm now stable to where I'm not swinging at all, and if I feel like my finger's about to blow off, I can set my feet down. Whereas if I try to come up in here and my hands blow off, I'm worried about that. I'm taking some muscle away. I'm taking some focus away. Same thing is if I decide to lift my legs up, I might have a little bit of a swing going on here. Now I've got to spend a little bit more muscle coordinating to try to stabilize myself. If I keep my toes barely on the ground, I've got 1 percentage point less of body weight, but I can really focus on pulling through my fingers, right? So another nice little advantage of that. But those are the break points. That's the flex we want to do. That's the training size edge. Adopting a more strength training appropriate rep scheme. But this will be this set volume to try to return to dosing your fingers as your technique improves and as your feet begin to take more and more of your body weight on climbs. That means your fingers are having to take less and less. So we just kind of dose it back in at an appropriate intensity to not interfere with your climbing session.